Nia Campbell reached Maconda Hills late on Christmas evening, her small travel bag heavy on her shoulder and her heart strangely tired. Lagos had been loud and crowded, and all she wanted now was the warm noise of home. Laughter, music, the smell of food. But when she pushed the old gate, it didn't move. The house was locked. Every light was off. The place felt frozen, like it was holding its breath. She called her mother. No answer. She called her father. The phone went straight to voicemail. Again and again, nothing. Nia stood there in the cold, staring at the dark windows, feeling a slow fear creep into her chest. It was Christmas. Her parents never went anywhere without telling her. Especially not today. A neighbor finally came out after hearing the noise. "Oh, Nia," the woman said softly, almost uncomfortable. "Didn't you know? Your parents left 2 days ago. Luxury cruise. Big ship. Very expensive." Nia felt her stomach drop. Cruise. On Christmas. Her mind raced back to the last phone call she had with her grandfather, Baba Django. His voice had been weak. He had joked, but she could hear the pain behind it. He wasn't well. He was supposed to be resting. Someone was supposed to be with him. Nia looked back at the locked house, the silence pressing against her ears. No lights, no voices, no sign of Baba Django. Suddenly, the cold wasn't from the weather anymore. It was inside her. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. And standing there alone on Christmas night, Nia felt it clearly for the first time. Nia didn't wait long after the neighbor left. The silence inside the house felt too loud, too wrong. She tried calling out, her voice shaking as it echoed through the dark hallway. "Grandpa!" No answer. Her chest tightened. She walked slowly toward the back of the house, every step feeling heavier than the last. The door to Baba Django's room was locked from the outside. Her hands started to tremble. Why was his door locked? Why would anyone lock him in? Panic took over. She banged on the door, shouting his name again and again. Still nothing. Without thinking anymore, Nia stepped back and kicked the door with all her strength. The wood cracked. One more kick and it finally gave way. The sight inside broke her. Baba Django was lying on the cold floor near the bed. His thin body was curled slightly, like he had tried to move but didn't have the strength. His chest was rising and falling, but slowly, painfully. Every breath sounded like a struggle. His lips were dry, his skin pale. His eyes were half open, unfocused, like he was drifting in and out. "Grandpa!" Nia dropped to her knees beside him, her bag falling forgotten behind her. She touched his hand. It was cold, too cold. Tears rushed to her eyes as she looked around the room. The heater was switched off. The small water bottle on the table was empty. There was no blanket covering him properly. Nothing. It hit her all at once. They had left him like this. On Christmas. Alone. Locked in his room. Nia felt sick. Her whole body shook as anger and fear crashed together inside her. She gently lifted his head onto her lap, brushing his face with her fingers. "I'm here, Grandpa. I'm here now," she whispered, even though her voice kept breaking. Baba Django's eyes moved slightly. He tried to speak, but only a weak sound came out. Nia leaned closer, holding his hand tighter. She could feel how fragile he was, like he might disappear if she let go for even a second. She looked around again, searching for any sign that someone had checked on him. There was nothing. No food. No medicine nearby. Just cold air and silence. The room smelled stale, untouched for days. Nia's tears dropped onto his hand as the truth settled deep in her chest. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was abandonment. Her mind replayed the neighbor's words. Luxury cruise. Expensive dinners. Smiling photos, probably. While Baba Django lay here, fighting for breath. "I'm so sorry," Nia whispered again and again, though she didn't know who she was apologizing to. To him. To herself. To the little girl who believed family always protected their own. She carefully grabbed a blanket from the bed and wrapped it around him, rubbing his arms to warm him. With her free hand, she reached for her phone, her fingers slippery with tears. As she dialed for help, she kept her eyes on Baba Django's face, terrified that if she looked away, even for a second, she might lose him. Christmas night had turned into a nightmare. And in that locked room, Nia understood something she would never forget. Sometimes the deepest cruelty comes from the people who are supposed to love you the most. Nia's hands were shaking as she spoke to the ambulance operator, her words tumbling over each other. She gave the address, begged them to come quickly, and then dropped the phone on the floor beside her. The weight felt endless. Every sound Baba Django made sent fear straight through her chest. She kept talking to him, even when he couldn't answer, telling him to stay awake, telling him help was coming. When the siren finally broke the silence of Makonda Hills, Nia almost cried with relief. The paramedics moved fast, lifting Baba Django gently, wrapping him in warm sheets, asking questions she could barely hear. Nia climbed into the ambulance with them, gripping the metal rail as the doors slammed shut. The vehicle started moving, lights flashing into the dark night, Christmas songs still faintly playing on the radio like a cruel joke. Inside the ambulance, Baba Django's breathing was still weak, but his eyes opened for a moment. He turned his head slightly toward Nia. His voice came out broken like it had to fight its way through pain. "Nia, listen to me," he whispered. She leaned close, her ear near his mouth, afraid she might miss his words. "I'm here, Grandpa. Don't talk if it hurts," she said, tears running freely now. "There are important papers," he said slowly, pausing between words. "I hid them. Don't let them take them." His fingers twitched weakly, trying to hold on to her sleeve. Nia's heart started pounding. "What papers? Who, Grandpa?" she asked, her voice shaking. "The house," he breathed. "The land. It's mine. Always was." He swallowed hard, his face tightening with effort. "Your parents, they were only caretakers. I trusted them. I was wrong." The words hit Nia like a slap. She felt dizzy. All her life, she had believed the house belonged to her parents, that Baba Django was just living with them. Now, in the back of an ambulance on Christmas night, she was hearing a truth that changed everything. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, more in pain than anger. Baba Django's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to break the family," he said softly. "I thought blood would protect me." The ambulance hit a bump, and he groaned quietly. Nia squeezed his hand, her mind racing. The locked door. Cold room. The cruise. Suddenly, it all made sense in the worst way. If the house and land were his, then everything her parents enjoyed came from him. And when he became weak, they didn't see a father anymore. They saw a problem. "Where are the papers?" Nia asked gently, forcing herself to stay calm. "In the old wooden box," he said. "Under the bed. Wrapped in cloth. Promise me, you'll protect them." "I promise," she said immediately, without hesitation. It wasn't just about papers anymore. It was about protecting him, his life, his dignity. The ambulance slowed as the hospital lights came into view. Baba Django's eyes began to close again, his grip loosening. Panic rose in Nia's throat. "Stay with me, Grandpa. Please. We're almost there." He managed a faint smile, just for a second. "You came back," he whispered. "That's what matters." As the doors opened and nurses rushed toward them, Nia realized something heavy and painful. Her parents hadn't just left Baba Django behind. They had left behind the truth too. And now that truth was in her hands, fragile and powerful, waiting to change everything. The hospital hallway smelled of medicine and cold air. Nia sat on the hard plastic chair outside the emergency ward, her hands still shaking. Baba Django had been taken inside, and the doors had closed behind him. All she could do now was wait. The doctor told her it would take time. That word felt heavy. Time was something they didn't have much of. Nia remembered his words in the ambulance. Important papers. The thought wouldn't leave her mind. While waiting, she opened her bag and pulled out the old wooden box she had rushed back to the house to get before coming to the hospital again. Her fingers hesitated as she lifted the lid. Inside, everything was neatly wrapped in faded cloth, like someone had protected it with care for years. She unfolded the cloth slowly. Papers. Many papers. Her name appeared again and again. At first, she thought she was too tired, that her eyes were playing tricks on her. She read them again and again. Then it hit her, hard enough to steal her breath. The house in Maconda Hills. The land around it. Even the small business connected to it. All of it had been placed in a trust. And the sole beneficiary was Nia Campbell. Her chest tightened as she read further. Baba Django had done this quietly years ago. He had made sure everything was legal, signed and protected. Her parents' names were there too, but not as owners. They were listed as caretakers only. Managers. People meant to look after what was never truly theirs. Nia felt sick. The next page explained the monthly allowance. A fixed amount Baba Django had approved for her parents. Enough for comfort, enough for respect. It was meant to cover household expenses and his care. Nothing more, nothing less. But the bank statements told a different story. Withdrawals that were far too large. Transfers that didn't match the allowance. Luxury purchases. Travel bookings. Cruise payments. Year after year. Her hands trembled as she turned each page. They hadn't just been careless. They had been stealing. Slowly, quietly, confidently, while smiling at him every day. Tears dropped onto the paper as anger burned through her chest. All those times Baba Django had said money was tight. All those moments he skipped medicine, delayed checkups, laughed it off like it didn't matter. Meanwhile, his own son was drinking champagne on the ocean. A nurse walked by and glanced at Nia, then gently looked away. Nia wiped her face and kept reading. There was a letter at the bottom, written in Baba Django's familiar handwriting. Her breath caught as she read it. He wrote that he trusted Nia, that he had seen her kindness, her honesty, even as a child. He wrote that he was afraid of confrontation, afraid of losing family, but more afraid of leaving his life's work unprotected. He ended the letter with one simple line: "If you are reading this, it means I needed you." Nia folded the papers carefully, her heart pounding. The truth was painful, but it was clear now. Her parents hadn't just hidden money. They had hidden a whole reality. And they had done it at the cost of an old man's health and dignity. She looked toward the emergency room doors, her jaw tightening. Baba Django was fighting for his life inside. And outside, Nia sat holding the truth they never expected her to see. Nia sat alone in the ICU waiting area, the steady beeping from inside the room cutting into her nerves. Baba Django lay behind those glass doors, tubes and wires doing the work his body was struggling to do. Every few minutes, a nurse passed by. Every few minutes, Nia held her breath. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She almost ignored it. Almost. Then she looked down. Her mother's face filled the screen. Smiling. Bright. Too bright. A selfie on a cruise ship deck, the ocean stretching endlessly behind her. The caption read, "Christmas done right." Clinking glasses sparkles. Nia felt her fingers go numb. Before she could even process that image, another one appeared. This time it was her father, laughing, arm around her mother, a glass of champagne raised toward the camera. Behind them were sparkling lights, neatly dressed strangers, a band playing in the background. "Living our best life," he had written. Nia stared at the screen, her heart starting to race. Her breathing became shallow. She scrolled, photo after photo. Fancy dinners with white tablecloths and candles. Plates of food she couldn't even name. A short video of her parents dancing, her mother spinning happily while people clapped. Her father looked relaxed, proud, carefree, like a man with no worries at all. Nia's hands began to shake. She looked up from her phone toward the ICU doors. Just a few steps away, her grandfather was fighting for breath. The same man who had been locked in a cold room without water. The same man who had whispered apologies for being a burden. The same man whose money was paying for this cruise. Something inside her cracked. This wasn't ignorance. This wasn't "we didn't know." This wasn't a mistake. They were posting in real time, laughing in real time, celebrating while Baba Django lay unconscious, alone, surrounded by machines instead of family. Her chest tightened as anger rose, sharp and hot. She imagined them checking their phones, liking comments, replying with heart emojis. People congratulating them, calling them lucky. No one knew what that luck was built on. Nia scrolled to the comments. "You deserve this. So happy for you. Enjoy every moment." her vision blurred with tears. She wanted to scream. She wanted to reply under every post with the truth. He's in ICU. He was left to die. This is his money. But she didn't. Not yet. Her fingers hovered over the screen, then slowly lowered. A nurse stepped out and quietly told her Baba Django's condition was still critical. Nia nodded, thanked her and sat back down, her phone heavy in her lap. She looked at one last photo, her parents clinking glasses, smiling directly at the camera. In that moment something shifted inside her. She realized this wasn't just neglect. Neglect would have been forgetting. This was a choice. They chose comfort over conscience. Celebration over responsibility. Champagne over compassion. Cruelty didn't always shout. Sometimes it smiled for the camera. Nia locked her phone and placed it face down beside her. She took a deep breath, wiped her tears and straightened her back. Her parents were busy enjoying their cruise, completely unaware that every photo they posted was proof of who they really were. And sitting there beside the ICU, Nia understood one clear thing. When this was over, nothing would ever be the same again. The machines around Baba Django made soft, steady sounds, filling the ICU room with a quiet rhythm. Nia sat beside the bed, her fingers wrapped tightly around his hand, afraid to let go. His skin felt warmer now, and that alone felt like a miracle. She leaned forward every time his chest moved, counting each breath like a prayer. Then his fingers squeezed hers. Nia froze. "Grandpa," she whispered. Slowly, Baba Django's eyes opened. They were tired, clouded with pain, but they were aware. He looked at her face for a long moment, as if he was making sure she was real. Then his lips curved into the faintest smile. "You stayed," he said, his voice weak but clear enough. Tears spilled down Nia's cheeks. "Of course I stayed. I'm not going anywhere." He tightened his grip, using whatever strength he had. "You are my real family," he said softly. "Not the ones who share my blood. You." The words hit her deep in the chest. She lowered her head toward his hand, holding it with both of hers now. "Don't say goodbye," she said quickly. "Please, just rest." But Baba Django shook his head slightly. "Listen to me," he said. "I don't have much strength. I want you to know the truth. All of it." Nia nodded, swallowing hard. He took a slow breath. "I built everything," he began. "The land, the house, the business. I started with nothing but my hands and patience. I worked day and night. I missed sleep, missed comfort. But I was happy, because I thought I was building a future for my family." His eyes drifted toward the ceiling as memories pulled him back. "Your father was young then. I gave him chances, taught him, trusted him. I believed he would protect what I made." Baba Django's grip loosened for a moment, and his voice trembled. "But somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as his father. He saw me as an obstacle, something in his way." Nia felt anger rise again, sharp and painful. "When I became old, when my body became slow," Baba Django continued, "he became impatient. He wanted control, money, power. He smiled to my face and took from behind my back." Tears slid down his temples. Nia wiped them gently, her heart breaking with every word. "I stayed quiet," he said. "I told myself it was better to keep peace than to fight. I didn't want you caught in the middle. I didn't want to believe my own son could leave me like that." He turned his eyes back to her. "But you came back. On Christmas. When everyone else chose comfort, you chose me." Nia shook her head, crying openly now. "You were never a burden. Never." Baba Django smiled again, this time a little stronger. "I know," he said. "That's why I trusted you. That's why I protected everything for you. Not for revenge. For truth." He squeezed her hand one last time. "Whatever happens to me," he whispered, "don't let this harden your heart. Build something better. Kinder." Nia leaned forward and kissed his hand. "I promise," she said. Outside, Christmas lights glowed faintly through the hospital window. Inside that quiet room, Baba Django closed his eyes, calmer now. And for the first time since that terrible night, Nia felt something close to peace. The hospital corridor was quiet when Nia's phone started ringing. The screen lit up with her father's name. For a second she just stared at it. The timing felt wrong, almost cruel. Baba Jango was sleeping behind the glass doors, machines breathing for him, and now this call was demanding her attention. She answered. The sound on the other end was loud and cheerful. Airport noise. Rolling suitcases. Her mother's voice came through first, light and careless. Nia, we're finally back. The cruise was amazing. You wouldn't believe the food. Nia said nothing. Her father laughed in the background. We're on the way home now. Traffic might be bad. Is everything okay there? Nia closed her eyes for a moment. Images flashed through her mind. The locked door, the cold room, the ICU lights, Baba Jango's weak smile. When she spoke, her voice was calm, almost too calm. Grandpa is in the hospital, she said. There was a pause. Just a small one. Not shock. Not panic. Just silence waiting to pass. In the hospital? Her mother finally asked. What do you mean? Why didn't you call us earlier? Nia opened her eyes and looked straight ahead. I did. Your phones were off. Another pause. Longer this time. Her father cleared his throat. Well, he's old. These things happen. We'll see him when we get back. Something cold settled in Nia's chest. She tightened her grip on the phone. He was locked in his room, she said quietly. No heat. No water. The air on the other end shifted. The airport noise seemed to fade. What are you talking about? Her mother said sharply. Don't exaggerate. Nia didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't explain. She had already done enough explaining for a lifetime. She took a slow breath and said the words that would change everything. Grandpa is in the hospital, she repeated. And the house is mine now. Complete silence. Not even background noise. No footsteps. No announcements. It was like the call itself had stopped breathing. What did you say? Her father finally asked, his voice lower now. Nia stood up, walking slowly toward the window at the end of the hall. Outside, the city lights blinked calmly, unaware of what was happening. The house. The land. Everything. It's in my name, she said. I have the papers. Her mother laughed once, a short, nervous sound. Nia, stop joking. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Silence again. Heavy. Her father's voice came back, tight and controlled. Who told you this? Grandpa, Nia answered. Before he went unconscious. There was a sharp breath on the other end. You don't understand what you're saying, her mother snapped. That house belongs to us. Nia's voice didn't change. No. You were caretakers. Another pause. Then anger spilled through the phone. You have no right to speak to us like this, her father said. We'll deal with this when we get home. Nia felt a strange calm wash over her. The fear was gone. The confusion was gone. Only clarity remained. There's nothing to deal with, she said softly. I just wanted you to know. She ended the call. Nia stood there for a moment, phone still in her hand, heart pounding but steady. For the first time since she came back to Maconda Hills, she felt grounded. The call hadn't just delivered news. Had drawn a line. Behind her, the ICU doors remained closed. Ahead of her, everything was about to change. The lawyer's office was quiet in a way that made every small sound feel loud. The ticking wall clock, the rustle of papers. Even breathing felt awkward. Nia sat straight in her chair, her hands folded in her lap. Across from her, her parents sat stiffly, trying to look calm, trying to look confident. But their eyes kept moving, watching, calculating. Mr. Sefiu Adebola adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. Thank you for coming, he said evenly. We are here to read the will of the late Baba Jango. The word late hung in the air like a weight. Nia felt her chest tighten, but she didn't look away. She had cried enough already. Today wasn't about tears. Her mother crossed her arms. Let's make this quick, she said. We've had a long journey. Mr. Adebola nodded politely and opened the file in front of him. This will was prepared several years ago and updated regularly, he said. It is legally binding and fully documented. Nia's father leaned back in his chair, a small smile playing on his lips. He looked relaxed, like a man who believed the ending was already written. The lawyer began to read. He spoke about Baba Django's life, his work, his intentions. About how he wanted his legacy protected. About how he believed care was more important than blood. With every sentence, the room seemed to grow colder. Then Mr. Adebola reached the part that changed everything. The house in Makonda Hills, he read, along with all surrounding land, is placed under a private trust. The sole and permanent beneficiary of this trust is Nia Campbell. Nia's mother straightened. What? Her father laughed under his breath. That's not possible. Mr. Adebola didn't look up. He continued. The family business and all related assets are also transferred under the same trust, with full ownership rights granted to Nia Campbell. Silence slammed into the room. Nia's mother's face drained of color. There must be a mistake, she said quickly. We've been managing everything for years. Yes, the lawyer replied calmly. You were listed as caretakers, not owners. Nia's father leaned forward now. Caretakers. His voice was sharp. I'm his son. Mr. Adebola finally looked at him. And yet, this was his decision. He turned another page. Due to misuse of funds and violation of caretaker responsibilities, all access previously granted to the caretakers has been officially frozen, effective immediately. What? Her mother shouted, standing up. You can't do that. It has already been done, the lawyer said, his tone unchanged. Bank access revoked, property authority revoked, business control transferred. Nia's father slammed his hand on the table. This is manipulation, he said, pointing at Nia. She turned him against us. Nia looked at him for the first time since entering the room. Her voice was quiet, steady. You did that yourselves. The room fell silent again. Mr. Adebola closed the file. All documents are signed, witnessed, and registered, he said. If you wish to contest the will, you may do so through the courts. Nia's parents said nothing. They just sat there, stunned, like the ground had disappeared beneath their feet. Nia stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her heart felt strong. She gathered her bag, nodded politely to the lawyer, and turned toward the door. As she walked out, she didn't feel victory. She didn't feel revenge. She felt something quieter, something heavier. Justice. Behind her, her parents were still frozen in shock. Ahead of her, Nia stepped into the sunlight, carrying a legacy that had finally come home to the right hands. After the will reading, Nia's parents tried everything. They called friends, distant relatives, even neighbors, spreading their story like wildfire. It's not fair, her mother said in interviews. We've cared for him all these years. We were just following his instructions. Her father posted online, writing long messages about being unappreciated and betrayed, hoping for likes, shares, and sympathy. But the world didn't believe them. Nia had already shared the proof quietly but firmly. Hospital records showing Baba Django's condition when they left him at home, receipts from the cruise, bank statements showing withdrawals far above the small monthly allowance. It wasn't just her word. It was documented, undeniable. The first messages of support for her parents were drowned out by the flood of evidence. Social media was merciless. People posted side-by-side comparisons, photos of her parents dancing and drinking champagne, next to images from the ICU and hospital bills. Comments piled up. This is shocking. How could you leave your father alone? The truth always comes out. Respect is earned, not stolen. Even in the village, things changed. Neighbors who had been polite, hesitant to intervene before, now turned their backs. The grocer refused to give them credit. The local pastor, who once welcomed them warmly, stopped returning their calls. Invitations to community gatherings quietly disappeared. No one wanted to be near the people who had chosen luxury over family, money over care. Nia didn't gloat. She didn't post the receipts herself. She simply went about her life, quietly asserting her right to her grandfather's legacy. Every day she visited Baba Django, bringing him food, sitting beside him, holding his hand. She read to him, laughed with him softly, even when he was weak. She let love, not revenge, guide her. And then one peaceful evening, Baba Django passed away. No struggle, no chaos. His breathing slowed while Nia sat beside him, holding his hand, whispering that she loved him. She had promised to protect him, and she had. In his final moments, he seemed calm, almost smiling, as if he had finally left knowing everything was right. At the funeral, the contrast was stark. Friends and relatives came to honor Baba Django, not her parents. People whispered their amazement at Nia's courage and composure. They spoke of her loyalty, her strength, her respect for her grandfather's wishes. Her parents, meanwhile, were largely ignored. Their attempts at sympathy had failed. Their lies and neglect were too clear, too public. Nia stood at the graveside, feeling the weight of loss and the lightness of justice at the same time. She whispered to Baba Django one last time, "You're safe now. Everything's yours, and I'll take care of it." Tears fell, but they weren't only for sorrow. They were for relief, for love, and for a truth finally honored. That Christmas, and all the ones after, Nia understood something she hadn't before. Cruelty may take many forms, but it cannot hide forever. And those who act with integrity, even in the hardest times, carry the legacy that truly matters. The next Christmas felt different in Makonda Hills. The streets were quiet, the air crisp, but Nia didn't feel the emptiness she had felt the year before. She was busy, smiling, and moving through a small crowd of elderly residents, showing them the new care center she had opened. The building was bright, warm, and welcoming, with decorations hung carefully, and a small tree in the corner sparkling with lights. On the main wall hung a framed photograph of Baba Django. He was smiling, eyes twinkling, looking exactly like the man Nia had always loved. Every time she glanced at it, she felt his presence, like he was quietly guiding her through every decision. This center wasn't about revenge or anger. It wasn't about proving her parents wrong. It was about honor, care, and keeping his legacy alive. She walked between the residents, helping some with their coats, chatting with others about small joys. Hot tea, favorite songs, warm blankets. Laughter echoed through the hall, soft and comforting, and Nia felt a peace she hadn't known in years. She remembered the long nights by Baba Django's bedside, the phone calls, the cold house, the harsh truths. But now, all of it had shaped her, not broken her. A small group gathered for a short program. Nia gave a few words, her voice steady but emotional. "This center is for every elder who deserves care, dignity, and love," she said. "Baba Django taught me that family isn't just blood. It's kindness, loyalty, and respect. This is his gift to all of you, and I am honored to carry it forward." After the program, she went around, hugging residents, listening to their stories, and smiling at their jokes. For the first time in a long while, Christmas didn't feel like pain or betrayal, felt like purpose. As the day ended, Nia stood by the window, looking out at the lights of Makonda Hills. The center glowed behind her, filled with warmth and life. She whispered to herself, "This is what matters. Not revenge, not anger, just care. And his legacy." And in that moment, she knew she had turned a story of cruelty into one of hope, love, and true justice.